Mayonnaise is a simple ingredient with a critical mission in professional kitchens. So why is selecting the right mayonnaise so complex? From extra heavy duty to real super premium, the category terminology causes unnecessary confusion. And the lack of standardization can lead to disappointing results, dissatisfied customers, and costly waste. Visit venturafoods.com/mayo needs to help you find the right mayonnaise for your operation.
Welcome to Menu Talk with Pat and Brett. I'm your host for this week, Brett Thorne, Senior Food and Beverage Editor of Nation's Restaurant News and Restaurant Hospitality. Pat Kobe, Senior Menu Editor of Restaurant Business, will be hosting next week. Our guest for this episode is a great one. Certainly not our biggest name, but an incredible restaurateur. His name is Jeffrey Bank, and he's the CEO of Alicart Restaurant Group, based in New York City. That's the parent company of Italian-American concept Carmine's and barbecue concept Virgil's. Alicart also owns Mermaid Oyster Bar in Times Square. They're all massive restaurants, generally 18,000 to 20,000 square feet, 700 to 800 seats, with sales ranging from around $14 million to $20 million a year. Mostly, Jeffrey and I spoke about Carmine's, which is a really fascinating concept, just turned 35 years old this year. And Virgil's is 30. Carmine's specializes in large parties that most restaurants hate, and they don't change the menu or raise prices much. They're scratch kitchens, and the dining room tables still have white tablecloths on them. How do they do it? Well, it's a lot of work, but Jeffrey Bank explains his approach, which includes a focus on happy employees and resistance to change. That's okay, because one of their signature items is the veal parmesan, and it's the size of a dinner plate, which means it's already looking good on Instagram. Jeffrey Bank talks us through all of that, and he also explains why the one day a year that the Times Square location of Carmine's is closed is New Year's Eve. It's a great conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, now we can start talking about Carmine's and Virgil's and Alicart Restaurant Group in general. Sure. You guys also have Mermaid Inn, right?
So Mermaid in Times Square.
Oh, okay.
That's part of our group.
And is that new?
Mermaid is right after COVID. I'd say about a year and a half now, 2 years maybe.
So you picked it up for...
So Mermaid, interesting story. So however you want to dive into this, backwards, sideways, or jump in. So Carmine's been around 35 years now.
Yes.
Virgil's 30 years in some different states, New York, DC, Atlantic City, Vegas, Bahamas. During COVID was our first down negative year ever, obviously, along with everybody else,
Right.
So
yeah, no shame in that.
Right. So in the middle of COVID, obviously everybody had to work out their things with their landlords and this and that. And we had a little bit of a disagreement, for lack of a better word, with a landlords in Times Square in New York City. So actually, let me work backwards a second. I don't want to say, if I can for you, New York City. I don't want to call them out. So while COVID was going on, everybody's working everything out. Their landlords, we saw a space available on West 43rd Street, 15,000 square feet. So I think we're the only people in the country, I can safely say, that signed a lease during COVID. So we signed this lease, favorable terms, obviously, because it's COVID and who's opening a restaurant during COVID. So we took the strategy of, hey, if the world ends, it's really not a big deal. If the world gets resolved, we've got another location. So we did that. I was having oysters with my daughter on the Upper West Side, Mermaid. And I'm like, it clicked. I'm like, you know what? Times Square is going to need an adult seafood restaurant. And I went partners with Danny and Mermaid on the Upper West Side. And that's how we got Mermaid in Times Square. So a little bit of lemonade out of COVID. Not much, but a little. Squeezed out a little.
That's Danny Abrams we're talking about, right?
Correct.
Well, that's good to know, because sometimes I want oysters in Times Square, and Mermaid Inn has always been great.
Yeah, I mean, it's in a great spot. It's east of Times Square. It's on 43rd. We do a tremendous amount of business with Bank of America, Salesforce Tower, of course, theater, and Juliet's across the street. So they're kind of coming in all day long. It's kind of fun to watch in between the matinee and the night show. A lot of the actors come in and get oysters for their protein, but they don't want anything too heavy in between shows. So it's kind of cute.
actually a really smart way to boost your protein.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
Many
also fun to
carbs.
watch them run across the street, crazy in between.
That's cool. So, Jeffrey, how long have you been with Alicart Restaurant?
Since 1999.
Oh, so early.
Yep. In 97, I had met the founder, Artie Cutler. Carmine's been open about 7 years then. He passed away, unfortunately. He had a heart attack, 53 years old. I then subsequently was supposed to go into business with him, and obviously that derailed that. I wound up opening a deli on the Upper West Side, a New York style deli, corned beef pastrami hot dogs, with his wife as a partner. We named it after her husband. It was Artie's Deli. We had 2,200 square feet, small store, about 110 seats, and we did $5 million on a $7.50 sandwich. Packed. Takeout, delivery, catering, walk-in. So very, very, very successful. But it's a single store, and I was used to running multiple stores. So I wound up working with his wife on the Carmine sides of the business because she had about 26 restaurants at that time, and she started selling them off. And she was holding on or trying to hold on to Carmine's and Virgil's. I became involved, and then every year I became a little more involved, a little more involved, a little more involved, until about 8 years ago, I had bought her out completely. So I own 100% of the restaurants now. And then I helped grow them to the first location outside of New York was Tropicana in Atlantic City. First time we left the island, New York. Went to Washington, D.C. during the financial crisis. Right after that, went to Las Vegas, then opened a Virgil's in Las Vegas. Then opened up in the Atlantis, a Carmine's and a Virgil's. And then the world ended with COVID. Unfortunately, laid off, 1,250 people out of 1,300. After COVID, about 600 of them came back. There are about 600 scattered around the country. Regrouped, came out of COVID with way too much business. A lot of pent-up demand, very busy while working on new, getting our staff up and running. So a happy problem, but still a little chaotic. 24 and 25 have finally been nice and calm in terms of, fully trained and this and that's been a nice groove. So now we'll get back to opening. We're looking at something on Long Island that's should get hopefully signed in the next couple of months, but obviously would take some time to build. We've always looked at Orlando. That's a no-brainer location for us. Another spigot city, for lack of a better word, plenty of volume. But I've passed on Orlando probably half a dozen times over the last 10 years. If it's not a good lease, that's where everything starts, then we don't do it. Since I don't have any private equity or anyone breathing down my throat saying, you must do this, you must do this, you must do this. It's very easy to follow, one of our big rules. The best deals are the ones you walk away from. Like there's no reason to do every deal. Because at the end of the day, if you can't live with your lease, it doesn't really change going forward. So location really means, lease, if you ask me. And kind of where we are today.
And are these all Carmines you're expecting to expand?
No, generally we move into a market as Carmine's and then Virgil's follows. Everyone's cross-trained. We don't have another division. So Carmine's if it makes sense in a location, we'll do a Carmine's and then we'll follow it with a Virgil's. If there was an opportunity I thought made sense for Virgil's, I could do it. But generally, our restaurants are quite large. Typical New York City restaurants like 72 seats to stay under a public assembly license. It's that stereotypical, you walk in, there's a little bit of a bar. It's got, 8 or 10 stools and the restaurant's behind that and then the kitchen. And then you don't need a public assembly license. And those are the ones that kind of go in and out all the time. It's there, up to 3 years. It goes out. The next guy comes in, changes the paint, and he's in business. In and out all day. Well, when you talk about a larger restaurant, people used to talk about 200 seats, 220 seats. Our restaurants are anywhere from 500 to 800 seats. They're very, very large. The DC store is 20,000 square feet. Las Vegas is 28,000 square feet. And we find with our family style environment, we can serve thousands of people because we're not putting out thousands of plates. So we're putting out maybe one salad per 3-4 people as opposed to 3-4 salads. So when you get to a certain size, the extra seats don't really add that much infrastructure or labor. So our sweet spot has been around 18 to 20,000 square feet, 100 to 800 seats. I want to sign leases that are that, spaces that large in a location that's going to be driven, whether it's tourist, mixed use, office, theater as multiple legs. And I want a low base rent. So those things aren't always aligned very well. For what Jeff wants is not always what the market will bring. So we wait. And then generally those things do become aligned when a developer or a landlord gets Carmine's and understands the volume of people that's going to bring into that location. So we took over a spot in the Forum Shops of in Vegas, Caesars, and our neighbors' all sales went through the roof because of the volume of people. In Times Square, we're serving 3,000 people a day. That's an incredible amount of people. Atlantic City, I'm serving about 2,100 people a day, and I'm drawing from the other casinos. So Caesars love that people come over from Borgata. In Las Vegas, MGM sends a lot of business because most restaurants don't want large groups. That's our wheelhouse. So typically, no restaurant is very excited about a 12, 14, 18, 20 person. People don't think that's a party. So they don't want a party menu because they're going out with maybe, 3, 4 families. But a regular restaurant, that's a conversation. So we fit that wheelhouse really well. And then obviously if a landlord understands that and gets us, that we're a little different than the regular norm, they want us to drive traffic. So that's how we get a lot of good opportunities. ICS real estate, in Vegas show, we get a ton of opportunities. And like I said, I will do something if it's all the alignment is there. If not, that's okay. Tomorrow's another day. We got plenty of work to do anyway, so it's fine.
And you don't have private equity breathing down your neck, as you said so?
No, I mean, what happens with private equity, it's great exit strategy. If you're trying to exit, you want a lot of money and you don't really care the future of your brand. it's awesome for that. Because they make different decisions. My decisions are based on my brand first. Every idea, whether it's tech, food, labor, changes, the very first question is, how will it affect the brand? And if you don't maintain your brand, then what do you really have? I'm just serving Caesar salad at the end of the day. Okay, so it's not some cutting edge thing you can't get elsewhere. So our brand is built on great service, great quality food, value, and consistency. So for 35 years, our chicken parm is our chicken parm is our chicken parm. Whether you get it in the Atlantis, the Bahamas, Vegas, DC, or New York, it's the same. So anything you tell me that I want to do, open another restaurant, I want some new tech involved, handhelds, or new kitchen equipment or anything is going to maintain my brand. If we answer that question, then we can look at the cost savings or the benefits. If it doesn't, I don't really care if it's going to save me money. Private equity is not afraid to take chances, which also could be good and bad, but they can take a chance. So they can take one unit and they can try something a little different and see if that works. Where I won't do that. I'm afraid of death by 1,000 cuts. I'm afraid you do one little thing that's not that big a deal, and all of a sudden you don't know what happened to your brand because it got chipped away. So there's a pros and cons, obviously, of private equity. So the nice thing about that is I don't have that pressure. The bad thing is during COVID, I was like, oh shit, it's just a little too much pressure. It's lonely at the top, but other than that, I think it's pretty good.
Well, you got through it, and both Carmines and Virgils, but especially Carmines, are interesting because it is not at all a cutting edge menu, but it's what everybody wants. And you have chicken parm. And if I order a chicken parm, I could eat it all week. It's a huge portion. And so how do you manage that? Because your restaurants are also reasonably priced and huge volumes. Like, how do you do all that?
So, maybe it's not a sexy phrase, but volume cures all ills. So it's not just dollars volumes. Our portions, Carmine's is the original, Instagrammable food shop. So before all these things about, I'm on Instagram and TikTok, look at the size of these portions. We've always had that. So we call it our wow factor. We didn't maybe have the right terminology early on in life, but it's a wow factor. When our waiters bring foods run to the table, they carry it waist height because they're selling it the whole way. We never carry high, ever. That's always been something, for decades now. We're very consistent. So if you like the chicken parm, it's always going to be that way. And when you're in ethnic food or situations, there's always a place. Hey, where do you go for, your veal franchise? Oh my God, I love this one place. Or if I go for chicken parm, this is my place. So you can never be the best, which is a weird comment because someone's always got, I like it at this place because it has more sauce. I like this because it's got a lot of cheese. I don't like a lot of cheese. So where we find ourselves is just consistent. So if you like the style of our Caesar salad, which is a little creamier and heavy on the garlic, you're going to love it forever. If you don't like a lot of garlic, you're not going to like our Caesar salad. So we're very consistent. And I think that's what people want. If I ask you, where should I go eat? People are like, the younger generation, they get all their choices from TikTok and this and that. And if you're not on there, you ain't any business. I think that can help your business, but that's not your business. People go eat where other people ate and liked it. So maybe TikTok will give you that little lead because somebody will be like, oh, this is the place. Let's go there. But if you don't deliver, you're not the place. So I'm going to go eat where you tell me to eat. Now, it might be because of TikTok. It might be because your mother ate there. It might be because of other reason. But people will bring you people. They will. So for us, even though it's not a sexy menu, it's traditional. It's a no veto menu. Everybody likes Italian. A little kid will just eat pasta. An adult can eat a steak contadina, 46-ounce porterhouse steak with garlic, 1 pound of potatoes, onions, and peppers around it. I'll put up against anyone's steak. We have salmon that we butcher ourselves. Obviously, all the classics, but linguine with clams, calamari. Our calamari is 2 pounds, but our calamari comes from one vendor that we're particular about, and because we're buying it by the tons, we get a fair price. So quality, consistency is why we haven't changed the menu in 35 years. There's no need to. It's a classic red sauce Italian restaurant. Yes, that food's available everywhere, but I think because of our quality, consistency, and then the value because of the size of the portions. So how do we do that? Because we have a lot of seats. This is all like chicken and egg. We have a lot of seats, big portions. You eat with 10 people. I serve thousands of people. We do a lot of dollars. I can afford to rent in a good location that's big, but they all have to be in a line, right? So, which comes first? A big location and you hope to get business. You have business. You have to move. It's our industry is complicated. I mean, it just is
For sure.
an unbelievable industry, which is why I love it. It's not boring, but we're manufacturers. So we have to manufacture product. Our product happens to spoil. So it's not t-shirts that at the end of the season, I can just discount and sell and just get rid of them. So I got to watch every single day. I don't know how many people are coming in. I'll have some reservations, but I don't know if the weather's going to be good or bad or whatever. So we have to prep properly. But then we have to sell. We're in retail. Now I have to sell you food. And then, I also have hospitality. I have to deal with people who are hungry, which is always not the funnest. Okay. And then we have employees. And then the employees obviously have changed over the decades. Not the same group today as maybe 30 years ago. But it doesn't mean it's better. It's just different styles. It's complicated. The margins are really, really tight. I think people think everyone in the restaurant world is just beyond wealthy and they make a ton of money. But as soon as your hot water heater breaks, you've just given up your profit for the week, maybe the month, depending on your size. But you'll also find, like me, most people in this industry are just, crazy and passionate and love it because it's never dull. That's for sure.
Certainly not dull. But if somebody asks me, where should I eat? There are 12 of us. I'm like, go to Carmine's or Virgil's.
Exactly. That's our wheelhouse. So
But you'll be able to accommodate them. And
we can accommodate, we can get you in and out quickly, and we're going to actually give you quality food and reasonably priced. And then sitting in the middle, God bless, for 35 years, when the financial crisis hit, everybody stepped down from their steakhouses. We're one of the few restaurants still has a tablecloth. You go to a high-end restaurant, they generally don't even have tablecloths anymore. We keep our tablecloth for one main reason. When people trade down from these steakhouses or this and that during the economy when their budgets are tight, they can still take a menu at a red sauce Italian restaurant and be out in a real place with a tablecloth, with a real napkin and enjoy their meal. So people trade down like crazy when their budgets and this and that get tight. On the other hand, when the economy goes up, everybody trades up. All your Olive Garden world and this and that in Yard House trade up to our tablecloth restaurant to come and celebrate. So sitting in the middle is just a healthy spot. Granted, I'm 100% jealous of a lot of my friends. Sometimes when I see their check average, I'm like, oh my God, if I had that check average, I could retire tomorrow. On the other hand, a lot of them aren't around after 5-6 years. So,
and do you share what volume of business you guys do at your restaurants? It has to be huge.
We do a lot of volume. We're anywhere from 14 million to 30 million plus. I mean, they're just very, very busy places, but we're also scratch kitchen. So I got a lot of labor. We're still making sauces. We're still, butchering. We're still doing everything in the back of the house all day long. We use 3 people to serve a table. So there's a waiter that's fully trained, obviously, in the menu. The food runner is not a food runner. The food runner is a server that's fully trained in the menu inside and out, can answer any question when they drop the dish off, and then they're serving it out to you at the table, which is another thing we do differently. We do have bussers and assistants to help clear tables, and then we have managements on the floor. We've got 15 people in special events. Obviously, private parties are a huge part of our world because of the size. management, and then we have a management company of 40 people that try and maintain our standards. We've been in the Bahamas now 20 years. I'm one of the few restaurants in the Atlantis that has 0 expats, not a single expat, which means we've trained all the Bahamian staff there to maintain the same chicken parm as chicken parm as chicken parm. I'd say the only difference there is I think the staff, what's my politically correct wording? The staff there is very friendly compared to my New York City staff, which has a little New York City edge. Okay. So I'd say that's about the only difference when you're getting served. You're definitely getting a much big smile, when you're on your vacation in the Atlantis. And in New York, we're getting you in and out. We're getting you to theater. Don't worry, buddy. We'll get you there. So little different pace.
Well, yeah, the way I like to explain New Yorkers to people is New Yorkers are lovely. We're very friendly. We're very nice. But the rudest thing you can do is waste our time. And so as a server at Carmine, serving a pre-theater crowd, you need to get people to whenever the curtain raises. When does it?
Right. And we're also very nice to remind you, like, hey, don't get that dish. That'll take an extra 4 minutes. This will come out quicker. We'll keep you on your way. We even realize we're really not going to get you to eat dessert. We want to make sure you get out on time. We're not trying to drop a dessert and you get one little fork and you run out. My guys have been doing this for a while. They make good money. They make good money. They're good servers. But like I said, my servers are also the food runners. They do both. So again, a lot of labor to pull our company together. But I think that's also part of the longevity. Otherwise, if you step back, you'd be like, I don't get it. They just serve spaghetti and meatballs. Like, I don't understand, why they're busy. There's a lot of components where it looks simple, clearly isn't. But we got a great team. And, that goes back to taking care of your employees, treating them right. I think a lot of people always say, oh, does that mean you pay well? Of course we pay well. I mean, we must pay well. You wouldn't stay. But we don't pay the most. We're not hazard pay, where we don't just give you 20% more than everybody else because A, your math wouldn't work, but B, we must take care of you. We must be understanding when you need time off or supportive if you have an issue. Everybody has issues, okay? The only difference is, does somebody talk about it or they don't talk about it? But everyone's got a situation. So for us, like, pre-shift is not about, hey, what's the specials tonight? It's more about a chance to look everybody in the eye, see how they're doing. Are they ready to roll? And are we in the right spot, in the right headspace and framework to go serve our customers with the right hospitality, to deliver the food that the kitchen's working hard to put out its quality? And everybody's got speed bumps. So it's a chance to look at someone and go, hey, what's up today? What's going on?
And then you can, take care of each person as an individual and make sure that the entire team is therefore looking after customers.
You should be. I mean, so as a phrase, one of my friends talks about all the time, that the guest experience will never exceed the employee experience. Friends with Billy Bombrast for years and years and years. I literally think that's tattooed on his back. It's quite possible. And it's beyond factual. He's got the best phrase for it, but it is. If your employees aren't happy, how can your guests be happy? Happy means a lot of things. Sorry. To make your employees happy is a lot of things. It's not just pay. It's making sure that if you're working 5 shifts, that they've got 5 uniforms, they've got 5 white shirts and 5 pants. Not going, oh, I'm going to give you 4 stretch it, or do they have bar towels? Do they have enough tongs? Do they have pens? And it's easy to get a little cynical in our world, especially if you're doing it every day. There's no 8th day in the week, so we're not in a 7-day business. We're just open, literally, and that's it. And maybe I think we close New Year's Eve. I think in New York City we close New Year's Eve, not in Vegas, of course, because Vegas is Vegas. But yeah, we're not closed. I mean, when COVID hit, the first thing we had to do is run around and buy chains and locks because we don't really know how to lock the restaurants. There's always the door open.
So why do you close in Times Square on New Year's Eve? Because that's a pretty busy day.
So, I don't know your legalities as we're recording this, and maybe you'll write in a better word, because on New Year's Eve, it's a shit show here. There's no other phrase for it. It is organized shit show. It's safe. It's fine. There's like a gamillion people that come here, and it's fucking crazy. I got no other phrase for it. So, like, we've tried keep the place safe and secure. The police are constantly expanding their boundaries. So we had to have ambassadors on 8th Avenue walk our customers in, because you can't just wander into Times Square. So it got so chaotic that we were like, everybody go home. Can we make money? Of course we can make money. It's an unbelievable night, but It's crazy. Now Vegas, their organized chaos is wired for that. So you can go there, and yes, of course you're open New Year's Eve. DC, we're open. Atlantic City, we're in a casino, so that's a no-brainer. Bahamas, yes. But Times Square is the center capital of the world, and I don't even know how to get you to the restaurant. It was quite complicated.
Yeah, people ask me if I go to Times Square for New Year's Eve. New Yorkers obviously don't ask, but everybody else does. And I'm like, why? No.
Well, I had the same thing in Vegas. You ask the employees where to eat. So my favorite thing is anywhere I travel is like ask, anyone and everyone, where should I go eat? I want to hear what they're saying. Every cab driver, hotel, anyone I'll ask, where should I go for Italian? Where should I go? If you answer the right thing and say Carmine, I give you a gift card right on the spot. So it's my nice thank you. But I've never heard a cab driver tell you to go into the Strip ever in Las Vegas in my life. You go into Times Square because there's a great show you're going to watch if you're a local New Yorker. You go for holidays. You go for the tree. We have our New York Carmines, 30 blocks away on the Upper West Side. We have our Carmines, the original one from 1990.
Right, where you just celebrated your 35th anniversary.
Yeah, we had a great party there. Mm-hmm. I make a joke that the soul and the garlic are baked into the walls up there. Like it just has the feel that is you cannot replicate, even though when we build our stores, they look quite similar, and we do. It's just soul is soul. Our food is identical, but in that store, you could just, like I say, you could smell the garlic in the walls literally there.
Well, and the key, I think, to any restaurant success is consistency, and you guys have that. How do you maintain that at all of your locations for so many years? Like, how does that happen?
So this will not sound fair, but if you want it, you can do it. Okay. That the first thing is, do you really want to be consistent? Is that your number one thing? Or is your number one thing that you want to make money and have good food and good service, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's true too. We're fortunate enough to be a big group, have volume, and we can make decisions that it might be hard for an independent to make because you have to pay your bills. And so sometimes you think, so I can afford when romaine lettuce goes through the roof because of a shortage or an issue with this or that, we don't change anything. We just take the financial hit. And there's almost always something like that. There's a hurricane, in Florida, and somehow calamari is going to go up, or the shrimp is going to go up, or I don't know. You have to be able to afford that hit. So it's kind of not a fair way I'm answering the question because not everyone can just emulate what I'm saying. So if you're going to hold your standard of consistency in the kitchen, you can deliver that. Then the next step is the people. Obviously, if you have turnover and you don't have a good training program of how to train someone, you're not going to have consistency. But that also takes money. Sometimes, people just kind of get thrown in and like, hey, you work with this line cook, you work with this waiter. And maybe we call that people, not process. The person who trained you is good, so you'll be fine. But was there a real process behind it? Probably not. So you might not be able to emulate that all the time. It takes a very big commitment mentally first that you want to do it, and then financially. And again, all these things got to lay out. It's like, why can't I open a smaller Carmine's? Why can't we just put it in another city? Everybody likes Italian. Why can't I just go here? It's not a spigot city. We'll be fine. We'll do plenty of business. I go, because I can't afford my model. I still need X amount of people to train, serve, and do the way we want. I don't think we know how to run a 300-seat Carmine. It's like, I don't know what we do with it. And which I know it sounds a little wacky because someone's like 300 seats. We wouldn't know what to do in an $8 to $10 million model. And every now and then we've looked at it and we're like, oh, Carmine's 2.0. We'll come up with another idea. And then we're like, why? Stick to what we know. We'll go to Orlando. We'll do something on Long Island. There's plenty of opportunities. Could do something in Hawaii, but that brings you out a little further with travel. I'm happy with Vegas because it's so busy and I have 2 stores there and I have a very good West crew, but I don't know if I really want to be like this all over the place. I met a guy 30 years ago on a plane ride and he told me his claim to fame was that he almost put Wolfgang Puck out of business by opening up all over the country little locations and that he almost took him down single-handedly with that idea. So
what do you mean by opening a bunch of Wolfgang Puck locations?
Yeah. All over the place. That needs even more infrastructure,
Right. And the way restaurant groups fail, they overexpand or they try to cut corners, which never works. I don't see.
Right. I hear you. So I don't think anyone wakes up in the morning like, hey, let's cut corners and we'll still be successful. It goes back to that phrase, I have death by 1,000 cuts. You don't think that's going to be the death of it. I'll take off the tablecloth, but I'm getting a really nice wood mahogany table That's unbelievable. That's great. I'm gonna, close a half hour earlier. I'm gonna shrink the portion on the steak an ounce, but they're gonna raise the price of the spinach. It's like there's a ton of choices, and you know what? You know how we find out which choices are right or wrong? Unfortunately, sometimes after the fact. Okay, so it's like any restaurateur I know, their biggest fear is raising prices. I mean, it's the scariest thing in the world. You need the margin, but you're petrified to change your price. California Pizza Kitchen, 2% a year, every year. Well, where are they right now? They didn't start having a bad product. Their price point got out of whack.
When you must have raised prices, Carmine's is 35 years old. I'm sure things are much more expensive than they were then. So how do you...
Over 35 years for maybe about 2% higher.
I mean, I guess it's a question of having experience and understanding your customers and figuring out the math. Is that?
Well, a couple of things. There's definitely that. You're right on that. But it depends on your competition and your market. So like Las Vegas, our pricing is pretty in line with our other stores. But obviously rent and labor have to drive. Sometimes you cannot keep just a flat price across the whole city, for a pasta dish or the country, excuse me. But when we got out there, we didn't realize, we start looking around, that the price of one of my pasta dishes, I think was like, I don't know, $32 or something, but it's serving 4 people, which is ginormous. Everyone else's entrees in Vegas was $30 also. And they were a smaller portion and different whatever. And it was the same price. And everyone's like, why are you so cheap? I'm like, what do you mean, why are we so cheap? I'm like, we literally, I think 10 years ago had to raise our prices $1 or $2 because people thought it was weird that we were like the same or if not less prices their meal the night before. They'd eat and they'd be like, I don't understand how this is like 100% cheaper. So that's a weird one in the market. But if you know what your competitors are at, and if you can be lagging, so you can still be, listen, I think you need to be extremely price sensitive all the time. It's nice if you can put something out that no one else is putting out. But at the end of the day, I think if you can consistently have good food and good service, I think you can be successful. But then obviously all your matrix have to work with rent, labor, this, that, and a lot of things you don't control. You don't control those things. I mean, you did at one point, but then you're where you are.
Right. Well, I would like to keep talking to you for about an hour and a half, but I think we've this is enough. I don't want my audience
to follow up with any question you think of later, but sure. No.
Yeah, I really enjoyed talking to you, and I think my audience will enjoy listening to your wisdom and the awesomeness that is Carmine's and also Virgil's.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate. Our company is very fortunate. I've got a lot of good teammates, a lot of good members. We treat them right, they treat us right, and then the customer is treated right as well. So it really hopefully can flow through that our wow factor between service, quality, and just the vision and your experience. Because usually most people, if you ask them about Carmine's or Virgil's, it's not just like, oh, I ate this. It's usually like, I was there for this, or I remember this, or I was doing that. So it's nice that we can also bring that to the table, that we can participate in some of your happy times, but not be thought of just as a celebration restaurant. Like, we can do that with almost anything. So yeah, we're fortunate. Tired, but fortunate.
People say they're fortunate, and I've never found that to be the case. Good fortune comes from working hard and knowing what you're doing.
I think there's a lot of opportunity. That's a fair statement in the world. Some people notice the opportunities or they miss them. And then sometimes there's an opportunity and then you have to also execute. None of these things, like I said, at the end of the day, I'm just serving Caesar salad. But if we execute it, it's a little more complicated than it sounds.
Right. Yeah, it's true that you want to be, when good fortune arrives, when lightning strikes, lucky you, but you also have to then rise to the occasion and deliver.
Yep, and you got to deliver, which is a lot harder than it seems sometimes.
Mayonnaise is a simple ingredient with a critical mission in professional kitchens. So why is selecting the right mayonnaise so complex? From extra heavy duty to real super premium, the category terminology causes unnecessary confusion. And the lack of standardization can lead to disappointing results, dissatisfied customers, and costly waste. Visit VenturaFoods.com/mayo needs to help you find the right mayonnaise for your operation.